Who here has heard of Classy Panel Styles before? Yes, Weather Channel guys. And someone I don't know. That's great. Awesome. Okay. It is currently, it's a module, currently in Sandbox, soon to be Contrib, that is actively being used by several of Media Current's clients, including a very important one that is in this room right now. And yeah, so we're going to go ahead and jump into this. I am #mysterydude because I'm not on Twitter. So, but follow Kendall. She's great. She tweets a lot of really good stuff. It's useful. There are some cat photos, but just she has a really adorable cat. Okay, so if you are a panel shop and or maybe not a shop, somebody who uses panels on a regular basis, or you're interested in learning to use panels, Classy Panel Styles is a great tool that, let me give a little bit of background first. It started off internally for our own internal Media Current website, where Kendall and the developers on that team worked together to create a tool that makes it easier for, Kendall wanted a way to empower her editors, the editors that were going to be managing the content on the site, to be able to apply styles that she created. She wanted to have creative control over which styles get created and then empower the editors with creative control to actually apply them in the correct context. Outside of the WYSIWYG, right? So we've got themers who create amazing styles with CSS and Sass, and they do amazing stuff. And then you've got your editors, your content editors, who normally they're stuck inside of a tiny box called the WYSIWYG, and they get to bold some stuff, and they get to make it italicized. Maybe they even get to apply some header tags. And then if they're really lucky, their editor has, their developer has enabled some custom styles from a drop-down that they get to apply. They may even get to float it left and right, maybe add a box around the image. Yeah, amazing, wow. And that's all they get to do. And they get really frustrated, so then they click the HTML source button and they start hacking away at the HTML source. They find a little snippet online, they plug it in there, and they go to town, and everyone gets really mad, and the site is no longer responsive. So what we want to do is allow the themers and the editors to collaborate. We wanted to provide a tool that allows them to work together and to collaborate rather than work against each other. So the question becomes, where do we draw that line between the styles that the themer creates and applies to the site at the region level and the styles that the content editor is used to using inside of the WYSIWYG? So we want to, as much as possible, get away from using the WYSIWYG to apply these styles. It causes a lot of problems for everybody, and it makes the site really hard to make responsive. So when we're talking about page layouts that goes beyond your basic node, your basic page content, when we want to create content that has multi-columns, that has sections created in it, I really want to bring up an example. We'll do it later. MediaCurrent.com website is a great example where we've got different single-page scrolling designs where it's not just one big WYSIWYG going down the page, but we've got sections broken out into these layouts. And we want our editors to be able to do that. We don't want to have to bring in a themer or a developer to create a new panels page and to pull in the content and lay it out. We want to empower the editors to do this without using a WYSIWYG. So another big question here is creating responsive designs. So one of the things that Kendall is really big on is empowering the editors to insert images into variable width panes that are automatically resized depending on the size of the pane. And it's still a work in progress, but she is actually including some code with Classy Panel Styles that uses Borealis that makes the responsive image, that solves the responsive image problem. Okay, so like I said, this module came out of an internal need that we felt at Media Current and ended up applying and using it with several big and small clients. And we're actively using it on these projects, and it's still in active development. And what it does is takes the drag and drop freedom of your panel's backend editor and allows the editors to apply styles to those individual panes. So instead of just having a single WYSIWYG box that they have to apply their styles, they're getting to create the content in the panel's editor UI and apply styles that Kendall or the the themer on the site has created for them. And they don't have to do things like remember class names. So rather than having to hack the markup and maybe referencing some Word document of all the class names that the themer has created for them, you see this nice styles interface here. This is the panel's backend, and you get these options. So these are created by the themer, and they correspond with specific classes and styles that the themer has created. So pane width, 100% width, that corresponds to a class, let's call it width 100. That automatically gets inserted onto the pane or the region that it's selected for. So obviously there's, the sky's the limit in terms of what you can apply. You can do things as simple as width and floats. You can do colors. I'm a developer, so that's as far as my brain goes, but I know that, front-end people, you guys do a lot of really amazing things. So one of the things we want to avoid is having the editors choose from a giant list like this. This is a screenshot from the Panoply module, or the Panoply distribution. And Kendall and I are actually big fans of Panoply. We think it's moving in the right direction. It's doing a lot of things right. It's a great panels distribution. However, that's a lot of layouts. And it still doesn't capture everything that the editor might need to do for the site. So rather than having a themer or a developer create every single possible layout that the editor might need, we want to empower them to change the widths of panes, to float the panes, and to modify the layout within so it's kind of an in-between between the WYSIWYG and your static layout where you can't change anything. So this is a lot of layouts, and the editor is going to kind of try to look at it and say, all right, which one of these layouts do I need to choose? And they're kind of holding up their content against it and trying to figure out, okay, what fits it best, and it still may not do exactly what they need. So then they turn to the panel's custom layout builder, and this is what the markup looks like. So panel's custom layout builder, if they're relatively technical, or maybe just a little bit technical, they can figure out how to use the panel's custom layout builder. Some of y'all, I'm sure, have used it, and it's a powerful tool. It's a good thing. It allows you to create, any kinds of custom columns and regions and rows. However, the markup is atrocious, and Kendall hates it when people use it. So that's because that's what it looks like there. Yeah, exactly. You can't even count them all. So just say no to Divitis. So the real value adds that this module, that the Classic Panel Styles gives you, is it allows editors to choose styles that get applied to an individual pane or region without having to remember the actual class name. So they're human-readable names selected from a drop-down that actually inserts the class and applies the styles. So you can create custom layouts without using that horrible custom layout builder, and the editors can do things that they wouldn't have been able to do before. When you're talking about inside of a WYSIWYG, as far as I've spent a lot of time setting up WYSIWYGs. I think it's really important to have a good WYSIWYG for the client. I like to lock it down as much as possible, but it is important to have some custom styles that the editors can apply. But there's one drop-down. That might change in the future, but with CK Editor or TinyMCE, there is one drop-down to apply styles from. And they have to choose, they look at that drop-down. It doesn't scroll very big, and it's a really bad user interface. So what we want to do is allow them to apply styles without having to modify the injecting their own CSS into the WYSIWYG, and to just give them more options. And the other really big value add, which we're going to look at next here, is, you notice anything strange here? How many rows are we seeing? How many columns are in content row 1? There's only one column in content row 1. With default panels action, this is not possible. You get every single pane that you add to the page. If it's a full width row, it's going to take up the full width on this back-end editor. You know, so when you go to actually view it on the page, maybe your themer has applied some CSS, injected some CSS that's going to cause these panes to be a certain width and to float. But the editor, who's actually laying out this page, has no idea what it's going to look like. So we'll get into a little bit of the magic that powers this a little bit later on. But we're actually applying JavaScript in the back end here to take the styles and inject the classes onto the back end editor here. Another thing that Kendall's just real big on is having these, I don't know what they're called, you themers probably know what they're called. These, these rows here, so you see how you're aware of how many pixels your rows are taking up, your columns are taking up. So this is just a real simple example of we're applying a width and a float left to each of these. And we get to see it in real time as the page is being laid out, rather than seeing them all stacked on top of each other. And one thing I want to mention real quick, because this is just the first question that comes up a lot of times, is doesn't this already exist? Isn't there something already out there that does this? And the answer, it's an emphatic no. The Panels Extra Styles module is a module where the idea was to have the community contribute a lot of kind of generic styles that you can plug into your site and choose from in the back-end editor. But what we're doing is allowing the themer to create their own styles and making it very easy for the editors to choose from those. And doing a lot of other magic stuff like applying them to the back end in real time. Semantic Panels is a really important module. What it does is allows an advanced editor or a themer to modify the markup at every level, so they can change the div that a pane is wrapped into some other tag, or they can remove it entirely. They can customize the markup, streamline it, add IDs, add CSS classes at any level of the markup. So it's very powerful, but it doesn't improve the actual editor's experience. Okay, so now I want to talk about a little bit of the technical side, the kind of magic that powers a lot of this functionality. And that's Kendall's cat. So we're using CTools Export UI, which is a plugin for the Chaos tools, and it provides basic CRUD access. So it's going to be very familiar to anyone who uses panel pages, who uses views, your standard export, import, overridden state. If you're using features-driven development, it's all going to feel very familiar because it's using that same design paradigm. And what we do is, in addition to the export plugin that contains all of these settings, we create the style plugin for you. So normally, if you wanted to have, well, let me see if I can go back here. If you wanted to have this page right here, if you wanted to create this yourself, let's say you know exactly what you want to do as a themer, and you wanted to have a selection of styles for your editor to choose from. What you would have to do is create a style plugin. You have to have some fairly decent development chops, or just Google and grab some code and plug it in there and hope it works, and it's not going to work and it's going to break some other things, and play with it until it gets working right. Everyone's done that. So what we do is we create this plugin for you automatically based on the configuration. So you input the name of the style, you input the classes that correspond to it and the human readable names for those classes. You specify whether you want it to be available on panes or regions. You can specify on which layouts you want it to be available. We have a lot of other ideas as well about how we're going to kind of tailor that list of styles based on different criteria. But currently it's just based on layout and panes or regions. So we take care of doing a lot of this code for you, so you don't have to actually write any code to create your style plugins. And then, like I was talking about on the back-end editor, also on the IPE, the in-place editor, we have some JavaScript that injects the classes onto the back-end editor so that the editors can see it in real time as they're laying out the page. The module comes with some example styles. It's a submodule called CPS example. And it comes with both the CSS that is generated from the Sass that Kendall created. So you can kind of take that and work from it as a base, or you can create your own entirely new styles for your site. All right, so with that, I want to move into the, we're not actually going to go to questions yet. I want to move into the demo, which is on this. Let me just turn off display mirroring. Or turn on display mirroring. Okay. Very good. All right. So here's the project page. FYI. It's also available. I created a bit.ly URL for it. bit.ly/classdpanelstyles. But so it's currently in sandbox. We're still working on. I don't have module maintainer status, so I can't make it a full module yet. But that is a work in progress. Okay, so let's take a look at. This is a vanilla Drupal 7 site. I've installed Class Panel Styles and the CPS example module. Over here under configuration and content authoring, you have this new section called Class Panel Styles. And you see it's got a list of all of the styles that you've created, or the ones that come with CPS example, and a settings page. Let's first take a look at CPS example background. So you can see here, it's very familiar. If you're familiar with any of the C tools objects like views, panel pages, there's a lot of things that use this data model. So it's going to feel very familiar to you. Easy to featureize if you use features development. And so you come in here and you can create a brand new one, or you can edit the existing ones. You give it a name, a human readable name. You can give it a description, and then here's where you actually specify the classes. So Kendall has provided in the CSS a class called background blue, and she gives it a human readable name, blue with white text. We can set a default value so that whenever someone selects this style for a given pane or region, this default one will be selected. You can specify whether you want this style to be required or not, so that they have to choose something. You can specify whether it applies to panes, regions, or both. You can leave it just for panes. You can specify on which layouts it's going to show up. We save that. It's going to say overridden. And we'll go ahead and edit a page that I've created, cleverly named test. So here's the backend editor UI. So right off the bat, you can see I've already got I've got one pane, just a standard powered by Drupal widget inside of the right side region, and the colors are showing up in real time in the background editor, which is not something that you typically see. Let's try doing something a little more advanced. Let's do some custom content. Let's add another one. And now, so you can see by default, it still uses the no style is the default style that gets applied to the pane. We're working on maybe providing an option where Classy Panel Styles gets selected by default if you want that. So we're going to change the style. We're going to apply Classy Panel Styles. And boom, there's our style list that we get to choose from. You can see black and white text is selected because I made that the default. And we're going to make it, let's call it 50%, and we're going to float left. And 50% is not applying. Let's try something smaller. This is why you never do live demos, because stuff doesn't work right. Yep, that should definitely be. Yeah, I'm having it floated. So they're floating, but you can't tell because the widths aren't applying correctly. But as you saw in that screenshot we had earlier, that was a better example. Should have recorded this ahead of time and then played it back. I don't know why I always opt for the live demo. It never works out well. Might be because I don't know, maybe the page is just so scrunched up, or Kendall and I were just working on some of the example styles, and we might have foobarred something in the example styles.
What happens if you do the update and preview?
Let's save it first. Let's see here. Look at that. So it works on the preview, so that's great. If we actually go to the page itself, oops. So you can see that that the styles are being applied. On the front end, of course, which is the sort of standard. It's using the standard panels rendering for these styles, and then the back end is using this special JavaScript that we're injecting onto the page to just kind of give the editors a better tool for building out the pages so they can see what they're building out in real time. Let's go ahead and turn on the IPE and give that a quick whirl. Oh, I don't have the IPE module enabled, so we're not going to do that right now. But so with the in-place editor, that's the functionality there is about 90% implemented. We've got one bug I'm still working on fixing, but you can turn on the in-place editor on this page, and the styles still get applied normally. It looks more like the back-end editor, where you don't see any of your styles applied. We're working on, and it's just about complete, where you see your styles, your widths, your floats, everything that you apply, you see it in real time in the IPE. So if Kendall were here, she'd do some really fancy stuff with images and responsive images and resizing. Yeah, we're not going to see that today. But so with that, I'd like to just open it up to questions or feedback if anyone has anything. Yes?
Do you know about a tutorial about fancy stuff somewhere on YouTube?
We've recorded this demo before. Yeah, we've recorded the presentation before, and I believe the Acquia webinar that we did, if you search for Acquia webinar classy panel styles, toward the end of that should have some of the Borealis and responsive images. Yes?
What's the story with Drupal 8 and the project? Are there any issues there that you see?
That's a good question. Big issues in that Chaos Tools has to be ported, and I'm not sure what the status of that is right now. But once that's ported, and the export UI submodule and the full panels architecture, once that's in place, then I'll be working on the port as soon as that's done.
So in the interface that you showed, where you were selecting things like column or pane width and things like that.
In here?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Can I limit some of those things? So, like, can I prevent somebody from entering an additional CSS class, for example? Or would I have to do like a form alter to do that?
Well, yeah, so you could definitely do a hook form alter to hide it. That'd be a clever way. We don't currently have an. Let me see if we have that option to just turn it off entirely. That'd be something that would be great to post to the issue queue. It'd be just add it in as a checkbox, like hide this option. I don't want my editors to be able to inject their own classes. If that's something that your editors are advanced enough to they'll poke around, find the classes, and stick them in there. Yeah, I could definitely see that. Let's take a quick look at the configuration page. So this is currently what's on there. So this is where you specify, currently it's using the styles from the CPS example module. This is where you would specify your own CSS file that's been generated. You can disable styling in the backend editor if for whatever reason you don't want it. And then you can pick which base region style gets used, because the classic panel styles div gets wrapped around the original region style, the original region markup. So you get to choose which one of these you want. Those just come with panels. Yes, Moses.
I know you mentioned about being used on the weather channel or some of your sites, and we can show it and kind of just talk a little bit about it.
That's a great idea. And again, I think that's something that Kendall has covered in a little bit more in depth in our other presentations. But so if you see, I'm not going to log into the site and mess with anything. Wow, this resolution is so small, it's using the responsive menu. That's great. Thinks I'm on a tablet. Fancy. So you can see here how it's got these kind of banners, these sections to the page. So it's got, this is one section. We've got this wavy line there, and then we've got another section here. This is one. I don't know exactly which layout it's using, but essentially it's a one-page, one-column layout, and the editors stick the panes in that they want. So this is one. I'm not sure if this is one pane, or maybe this is one row, and these are individual panel panes that are then floated left and given a certain size with a responsive image. And then this region, this row right here would get a region of, I forget what they called it, but like media current section region, like homepage section. And it automatically applies this wavy style to the top and to the bottom. And then this is going to be a separate section. So yeah, it's being used on pretty much every page of the site to lay out this content. Thanks, Moses. Any other questions? Yes?
I guess I don't quite understand why you would, your example where you had a couple of boxes floating in, like there's two that are floated together. In one row, why you wouldn't just choose a different layout that gave you the ability to put those two side by side?
It's a great question. So if we go back to this one here, you simply can't make enough regions to do exactly what you need, and then you get down to where you're using the flexible panels builder, and you get into the bad case of dividus. And so what we want to be able to do is have the editors say, I need to add another, let's say we were on, this page right here, and we wanted to insert in another section right here. Rather than having to choose from a different layout that had another region going across, we can just inject the panes, set the widths, and it's kind of like an in-between of your WYSIWYG and your standard panels layout. With your panels layout, you're very fixed. You're very kind of limited in what you can do in terms of the layout. And then the WYSIWYG, it's just no man's land. You can do a lot, but it's not going to be pretty, So this is kind of an in-between. It empowers the editors to do more in a structured way, and in a way that's been approved and vetted by the themer, or by the person managing the site, to say, I want to have these styles available. These are the ones they can choose from on this layout. So. Any other questions? Okay, well, thanks, y'all. Appreciate it.